And now, at long last, it's time to review Ant-Man, a small-scale hero with a small-scale box office turnover. Of course, before we get too far into the review itself, we have to address the elephant within the room with this movie, that Peter Reed, the movie's director, isn't the original. Of course, it was going to be done by Edgar Wright, but due to creative differences, he left the project. I'm not going to go into it because, quite honestly, who really cares? Because the movie itself is fine and enjoyable. Maybe not as enjoyable as it would have been had Edgar Wright been directing it, but still a fine, damn good movie all the same. It stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, and Evangeline Lilly. The award for this month's daftest name. Anyway, they all do fine, enjoyable jobs. I find Paul Rudd to be a perfectly fine leading man with this movie, and he seems to be the perfect choice with it. This is a far smaller scale movie than any of the other Marvel superhero movies that we've seen recently. This isn't about a bunch of superheroes trying to stop an evil alien space god from punching a hole in the planet, or a giant blue space laser blasting into the Earth, or a giant blue space laser firing up into space. No, it's a heist movie at the heart of it that just so happens to have some superhero elements to it. And those elements are done very, very well with some really great little action sequences. The moment that Paul Rudd's character first shrinks down in the Ant-Man suit, we're treated to this very great, brilliant little action sequence which sees him getting trapped at a party, sucked up into a vacuum cleaner, and all those bits feel very, very, very well realised. So much so that I was incredibly tempted to see this movie again in 3D, just to see how that spectacle would have looked within the glory, the wonderful brilliantness of stereoscopic 3D. But anyway, still, this is a great movie for what it is, and I dare say that I enjoyed it a little bit more than The Avengers 2. As it is a far smaller scale movie, it's not about trying to save the world, it is just about stealing something. Even though there are some issues in this movie, particularly in the character development area. There are several moments in this movie where things just happen to justify character development. When we learn about how Hank Pym's wife died, that entire moment, that entire conversation just seems to happen just because it has to happen. There's nothing organic about it, it's just Michael Douglas' character turning around and saying, "Well, I guess I should tell you about how your mum died," and we just kind of get treated to the flashback sequence with no real organic feel to it. It's just there to kind of set up later action sequences. And of course, our bad guy in this movie is probably the worst in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's a bad guy just because he is. He's the bad guy, and that's his sole motivation and character. He is building his own Ant-Man suit, he builds it, and then the two fight. He has no personality to him whatsoever, he's a little bit crazy, though apparently him using the suit is making it even more crazy, so he's like super crazy now, guy, and it like, oh my god, he's shooting with the lasers and stuff. Look, and this movie is fine for what it is, perfectly enjoyable. It is a nice movie, an enjoyable movie, and a fine movie to end Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2, whatever the hell that means. It's enjoyable for what it is, great and good. I have to admit, though, I probably wouldn't have seen it had I not been doing this film review stuff, but you know, it's good for what it is. Perfectly enjoyable, perfectly serviceable, and once again, maybe a little bit better than The Avengers 2, if only ever so slightly.